morning, friends. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. It is Wednesday, or is it Thursday? It's Thursday morning. It is Thursday morning, day 430 of my routine. And here we are. Time to get started. I'm a bit earlier than usual. It is 4:54 in the morning where I'm at, but I woke up at 4. I had 7-ish hours of sleep. So tried to fall back asleep, but then didn't work. So those 30 minutes that I might get, might as well be awake and do something else, like create another short or record a bit of a longer form, whatever works this morning. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 40 years old, 41 years old actually, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, strength training, conditioning training, and mobility training. So if that's something you're interested in, then we can have a conversation about that. This morning is a mobility morning, so I'm just going to turn on the timer and go through some mobility exercises for the next 20 or 30 minutes, after which we'll do a little bit of core with kettlebells, and then we're going to be ready to start the day, make a cup of coffee and start the day. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for life. And there are two big reasons why I do this and why I find this important. First of all, I've understood that I might live to be at least 70, probably 80, maybe 90, and I might even get to 100. But whatever my final decade is going to be, it might be riddled with discomfort and disease. And a large part of those, including medications and treatments, could be prevented by adopting a healthier and a more active lifestyle already now in my 40s. Probably already should have started in my 20s, but hey, I started early 30s, so I think we're on a good track probably. The second part is that I have 2 kids who I want to see grow up, and I want to be an active part of their life and a good role model for them as they grow up, showing them what is possible physically and health-wise if you take good care of your body and if you're capable of doing things even at an older age, because they will definitely grow to be somewhat older than I will get, as is the nature of things. So there you have it. And that's why I show up every morning. I stream my workouts so we can have a conversation, and I talk about things that I am interested in or have learned or know about life or about health and fitness. Today we're going to talk about food and nutrition. That's the program for today. Remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And the reason for saying that is that it's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. And sometimes on a fitness journey we get really harsh and cruel to ourselves. Not good enough, need to work harder, need to do more. And I'd just like to say you'll get the results if you take good care of yourself and are kind to yourself as well. It doesn't have to be a fight or a struggle or a beating mentally and emotionally. There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so let's lift ourselves up. All right? A bit of kindness to ourselves will go a long way. And friends, the only way to get anything done is by showing up, doing the work. So when you drop by, say hello, either in chat or in the comments underneath the video. It's 4:58 a.m. right now. I'm going to start my timer, and we are going to just get started with a easy mobility routine, and we're going to talk about nutrition. going to breathe in and out. And to move the neck. For me, this is an important one because there's always something going on with the muscles up in my neck. So I'd like to make sure that they keep moving and functioning the way they're supposed to. It'll help with things like driving a car, for example. When you have to check your mirrors, and then look out the window. It's important to be able to do this comfortably so that we can drive safe and comfortably to our destination. All right, friends. February is now really over. March is around the corner. If you watched yesterday's live stream, you saw that I picked up a 20-kilo kettlebell for the swings. We started off with a 16-kilo 10 times 6 in January. We worked our way up to 10 times 20. And we have now gone back to 10 times 6 with the 20 kilos. Tomorrow is going to be 10 times 8. And we're doing 10 times 8 single-handed. 5 times left, 5 times right, with a 12 kilo to see how that is going to go and play out. All right. Now that means that we've made some progress, right? We've gotten stronger and fitter. And we haven't done anything outlandish and extraordinary. Just been consistently swinging that 16-kilo kettlebell for 2 months. And I just want you to understand that we shouldn't be in a hurry when it comes to our health and fitness. We should be consistent, and we should find things that we can do consistently over time for life. Why? Because this is something that we're always going to come back to is the fact that when it comes to health and fitness, it's a lifelong commitment. It's not something we do to get in shape for summer or to lose some kilos just because we feel like we've put on a bit too much weight. But it's about understanding that our body functions best, our mind functions best, our emotions function better when we take good care of our physical needs, our needs to move and play and dance and jump and sprint and climb and stretch and reach. So there's a lot to be said just for leading an active lifestyle. And if you sit a lot, like I do, then you might begin to believe that an active lifestyle is going to the gym for 1 or 2 hours a day. But it's not, because those 30 minutes of workout that you get in are never going to compensate for the amount of sitting that we're doing. So we need ways to activate our bodies throughout the day to make sure that our muscles and our systems receive the signals that say, hey, I need you to be ready when I need to use you. This could be walks, this could be taking the stairs, this could be stretches while we're seated, or mobilizations while we're seated at our desks. This could be dropping and doing 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 pull-ups. Like I take 10 or 12 flights of stairs at least twice a day when I'm at the office. That's like 4 minutes, not even, of my day. All right? I usually do it first thing when I get there, and one more time in the middle of the day. I also, during lunch or during a meeting, will say, well, let's go for a walk. Then we can walk and talk 30, 45, 60 minutes. Now we've broken up the day of sitting with some minor light activities, but those activities overall have a better impact or have an influence on how my body is going to develop and what I'm capable of. There's our little things that we can do. We have an office gym. I will go in, find the pull-up bar, and just hang 2 times 30 seconds and drop into a comfortable deep squat and just sit for a little bit, mobilizing the hips and decompressing the spine, things like that, just to fit them in throughout the day. I find walking also relaxes my mind and helps me think. So I'd like to do more of it, if at all possible. but there are also the demands of the job and things that need to happen. Okay. In any case, I always talk about sleep, food, and movement, and we're going to talk about food today. And specifically, we're going to discuss that food is a skill, something that we can acquire, the skill, improve, adapt, and get really good at food for our health and fitness. And I say specifically food for our general health and fitness, because food will have different functions throughout our lives, right? Let me give you a couple of examples. Food could be about pleasure. You could want to visit a specific restaurant because that chef is able to create a flavor sensation that you will not be able to experience anywhere else. You might enjoy that food not for the nutrition that it brings, because it's probably going to be rich in flavors and in nutrients, but you're going to eat that food, whatever it is, because you enjoy it. And that is completely fine. There is no issue with that whatsoever. Alright? So let's make that absolutely clear from the get-go. Food can also have a social function. For example, family dinners, or meeting a cup of coffee with a friend, or going out for dinner or lunch with colleagues or customers or business associates, at a party or a function. Food is a way for us to connect and communicate with each other. And again, that is a completely valid and useful function of food. Alright, absolutely is. You have absolutely nothing to worry about if you consume food for pleasure, if you consume food because it's a social, cultural thing where you eat together. We're going to keep doing the cat and cow for another 40 seconds, by the way. Where you eat and drink together to socialize and connect and bond. For the purposes of this discussion, we're going to look at food as a fuel source for our health and fitness, specifically for our body, because generally speaking, we consume food, whether we're eating it for pleasure or socially, because our bodies require food or foods in order to function. Food provides the energy that allows our body, even when we're inactive, to breathe, think, twitch, process. There are at any given time a lot of things going on in our body, regenerate, grow, that we are probably not aware of. And what we want to understand about food is that we require that energy to live and to be healthy. And there is only one way to get that energy into our system, and that is by consuming food. Simple. All right, so we understand that fact. Now we need to understand the second fundamental or basic of food as fuel for our health and fitness, and that is this idea of energy balance. The idea of energy balance simply is our state of being and our level of activity throughout the day determine how much fuel and energy we need, which are probably different for every individual. That's completely fine. But as a general rule, we can either consume less than we need, we create an energy deficit, we can consume more than we need, we create an energy surplus, or we can consume exactly as much as we need, we are energy neutral. And every one of those states of energy intake has certain implications for our general health and fitness. The best known or most commonly known is the weight maintenance, weight loss, or weight gain paradigm, right? Where if you create a deficit, you are likely going to lose weight. If you create a surplus, you are going to gain weight. And if you create a neutral state, you are going to maintain the weight that you currently have. Not very complicated, but a concept that people try to manipulate in different ways, believing that they are doing themselves a favor. And there are many ways to manipulate this basic concept of energy balance. But as a general rule, when it comes to health and fitness, living long and living a healthy life, understanding how this works and seeing it as a tool in your toolkit related to the skill of food is going to help you manage your health more effectively. Because probably for the largest proportion of your health and fitness journey in life, you are going to want to maintain a certain weight. So you're going to strive for that energy balance being neutral. You're going to strive for that ability to eat at the level of which you are expending energy, and that will allow you to maintain your weight at a certain level, and that's probably going to give you a relatively decent health outcome. But there might also be times where you want to decrease that weight, usually following a period of some energy surplus. So you're going to use all three states at different stages for different goals. For example, gaining weight. There can be many reasons to want to gain weight. One of the most common ones is you want to build some muscle, and you're going to try to create an energy where you're also consuming a lot more protein than you usually would. heavier and heavier resistance training to that muscle. You'll notice that in the process, you're going to put on some excess fat mass as well. That's completely fine. Yeah. But you want to then lean out a little bit, get rid of that excess tissue, the soft tissue, but maintain the muscle that you built. You're going to create a caloric deficit to do that in that case. So there are different ways in which to, when either of the three different states becomes useful, just being aware of it and understanding how this works is going to help you make better choices. All right, so those are the fundamentals. And we need to talk about energy requirements. So we've already touched upon this slightly, but different goals come with different energy requirements, right? Different energy balance that we're trying to accomplish, but also different compositions of what we're eating. So for example, if you are someone who sits behind a desk the entire day and then sits on their commute and then sits on the couch and then sleeps in their bed, this sounds familiar, don't worry. This is life for a lot of people in our society. Good. That is going to have an impact on your energy requirement, plain and simple. That is very different from someone who is constantly moving around, lifting heavy objects, someone who works in construction or in a warehouse or any other kind of relatively physically intensive jobs, right? Okay. So you think about that, and you realize that already there, just in day-to-day life, there can be huge variation in how much energy you need. Say you sit a lot during the week, but you are redoing your house on the weekend, then Saturday and Sunday, your energy requirement is automatically going to shift compared to what you use during the week at your desk job. All right? Your body is very good at increasing or decreasing, regulating the way it uses and needs and acquires energy for the task at hand. There's not a lot you need to do for that. All right. So, but there could also be the goal of an endurance runner versus a power lifter, right? They would have very different nutrient profiles because the output, not only the competitive result, but also the training result, but also the energy requirement day to day is going to be very, very different. And also during the activity, the energy requirements are going to be very different. So different goals will come with very different nutrition profiles. And you need to understand your goals in order to be able to set your nutrition goals, your nutrition plan. So you want to understand how active you intend to be throughout the week, whether you want to maintain your current weight, whether you want to lose some weight, whether you want to gain some weight or mass, and then figure out a way to eat towards that goal to aligns with your activities and your food preferences. And if we understand that, we can think about the order in which different aspects or elements of food are important. So we can talk about that for a bit. What is the way to structure our thinking about food priorities? Well, I like to use a tool called Helm's Pyramid of Nutrition, because that was given to me a long time ago by a personal trainer when I started this journey, and it has proven to be very useful and to also stand the test of time. And it's relatively simple and straightforward. So it's a pyramid made up of 4 blocks, the base, and then all the way up to the tip. And the base of the pyramid, where our journey and relationships with food starts, is energy balance. It's also the reason why we started talking about that as a fundamental concept. So we can probably get the most in our day-to-day life when we're starting out with health and fitness by merely focusing on how much energy am I using in a day and how much energy do I consume in a day, and trying to bring that into balance with each other. So like I said before, overall, I think most of your life, your focus on health and fitness, you're going to be focused on balancing your energy intake, maintaining the weight that you have today in favor of weight gain and weight loss, just being neutral, because that's a nice place to be. You probably strike some equilibrium, everything works the way it should, and you're happy, and you also don't need to think about it too much, because when food becomes too top of mind, it can take over a lot of mind space and become a bit all-consuming, which has implications for our mental and emotional health and well-being as well. But when it's just a healthy part of our lives and it's just there, generally we're good. All right. So energy balance. So figuring out how much you need, how much you're consuming. And there's a couple of ways to go about this. One, find an online calculator. 2, take your body weight, multiply it by 24. You're probably going to have a pretty good indication of what that number is going to be. And then there are factors that drive that up or down, your personal metabolism, base metabolic rate, other factors that are of influence here, but as a general rule of thumb, that could be a good starting point. Okay? And you go from there. And then you want to understand how much you're eating. Well, you can take a look in the mirror and you can see whether you are over or under eating, because you will see if you are relatively lean, you're probably hitting or eating beneath your energy balance. if you carry some, not a lot, but some excess weight, you are probably eating a bit more than you should, and you have been doing so over an extended period of time. And that's completely fine. The question you want to ask yourself is, what is the long-term impact of this going to be on my general health and fitness? I think that is a question that we don't spend enough time answering, because we don't notice that these diseases and conditions are developing inside of us in the moment. We only notice when they manifest one way or another. I think that is something for us to just be aware of and to be more conscious about. That the absence of disease and discomfort does not mean that it is not there or not developing in our bodies. And so being slightly overweight or slightly underweight at the moment is fine because we're young, but over time, moving in either direction too much, and specifically the overweight part brings certain diseases and conditions with them that are very preventable and deteriorate the quality of life. I think it's one of the hardest things to come to terms with and to try to remedy. But it's not impossible. And there are good ways to do it nowadays, right? So get the help you need in that. But energy balance at the base of that pyramid is Benjamin Hollingworth. Good morning. Thanks for dropping by, saying hello. I hope you're doing good where you are. We were actually just moving into the core section of the morning workout as we're talking about nutrition. So the base of the pyramid, energy balance. Now once we figure out the energy balance, we can figure out the second block in that pyramid, and that is the balance between our macronutrients. Like I already said, someone who's trying to build muscle, build strength is going to probably want to over-index on protein. Someone who's an endurance athlete is probably going to have a much higher requirement for carbohydrates, because they require that fuel to burn as they are engaged in that activity, right? So balancing macros for our goals, simply to probably maintain our mass in a healthy way, and to want to stay fit and healthy for life. About 1 gram of protein per every kilogram of body weight is a good starting point. We need a certain amount of fats to actually function, so a proportion of our nutrients should come from fats, and generally we complement the rest of the calories through carbohydrates or a mix of the other three. Right? But we need to understand the function of the 3 macronutrients in our body. Carbohydrates, fuel; fat, fuel. Also helps with the regulation of some other processes. Protein can be used as fuel, but generally is actually a building block for recovery and growth. And all 3 are important. We function well when we have the 3 in our system. Okay? And there are different opinions and different diets and different points of view on nutrition and the different types of nutrition, but generally speaking, you get a good mix of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in, you're going to function quite all right. Okay? So, for me, my goal at the moment is to lose a little bit of that mass. I'll come to read your messages in a second. To lose a little bit of that mass, all right, that I've accumulated over the last 2 months. So that means I'm going to try to live in a deficit, but at the same time, I am training and exercising and moderately active throughout the day. So I need energy to do that, which is why I aim for that 120 to 150 grams of protein in a day as a baseline to help my body recover and grow and stay strong. And I limit the carbohydrates in that equation to balance out at around 2,000 calories in a day. 2,000 calories in a day, not starving, but I know I could eat a bit more. Believe me, my body tells me. All right. So, balancing out these macronutrients for different goals. I tried to time my carbs 2 hours before training. Oh, there you go. That's already a pretty advanced way of looking at it, right? That's training specific. You probably know what you're doing, and you've been at this a while. My guess would be to develop that understanding in terms of how much time before a training you want to be consuming energy so that you can deliver certain output. In general, because this is more or less an introductory talk about nutrition for lifelong health and fitness, right? We're looking at just throughout the course of the day, without really trying to do any sort of timing or anything special, balancing our intake and our use or need of fuel. And then this is a very good and interesting next step for sure. So energy balance, macronutrients. After macronutrients is where we start to worry about micronutrients. So if we think about if we think about the vitamins and minerals that we need to function, we get a lot of those out of a balanced diet. And usually by rebalancing our diet, by minding our energy balance and starting to think about our macronutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, we automatically already change the micronutrient profile in what we're eating. And generally the guidelines are, well, you can get your micronutrients from a varied diet. There are tests, your GP probably can do it, you can get your vitamin mineral profile, and you will then see where you are deficient or not, and what you might need to supplement. Probably need to supplement less than you think. But the only real way to know is to get that tested, and the test might cost you $100, but it might save you €1,000 of useless supplements over the course of a year. So worth thinking about. But after energy balance and macronutrients, micronutrients are essential for how we function. And after we figure that out, we can look at other kinds of supplementations. Now, generally, we concern ourselves with all three or all four blocks in that pyramid. However, I'd say you are likely going to gain the biggest advantages on your health and fitness journey, especially when you're just starting, in the base for energy balance and in the macronutrient balance. So the first two blocks. Everything else is extra. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the support, and thanks for again for dropping by and watching and having a chat with me. What kind of sports do you do actually in terms of training? What are you training for? I always say maybe you missed the start of the live stream, but I'm 41 and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life, to stay healthy and fit till I'm maybe 100, and to be an active part of my kids' lives and to be a good role model to them about what health could actually look like throughout life. So that's why I'm here every day. I'm always curious to hear what other people are doing and why they're doing it. All right, so we've looked at the pyramid and the order in which to think about nutrition, right? Good. Now, let's talk about how we can start to be consistent with this, because that is one of the harder things to do, right? Is okay, how can we actually be consistent in our nutrition choices that are going to help us be healthy and fit through life? Well, the way I've done it is relatively straightforward, but I just have a set of go-to meals that are generally create the energy balance that we want to have in life. So I have a set breakfast, varies a bit on the weekend. I'm going to come and read your message in a moment. I have a set breakfast, which packs around 30 to 40 grams of protein. That gets me through the morning, usually. If I've done a heavy workout, I will add a slice of bread, whole grain French bread, sourdough with butter and peanut butter to replenish some of that used energy. lunch is a challenge because I'm at the office, so it varies day by day, but I understand food well enough. I'm studying exercise science currently, train mostly bodybuilding, cool. I have a background calisthenics, also cool. And powerlifting and serves. Wow. So it sounds like, in terms of general health and fitness and ability, you're pretty all around. You can train without weights, which means you can train anywhere with weights. And I have a different, very specific goal. So probably then, if you're into bodybuilding, I think Eric Helms comes from the bodybuilding side as well. Probably heard of him at some point in what you looked up online or not. I think he still has a channel and still publishes. Also does some science about it. He's a scientist or a researcher in the area. That's really cool. And good luck with pursuing that goal at the moment. And I hope it brings you the insight and satisfaction and joy that we're after, because in the end that's why we do these kinds of things, right? Because we want to feel good about ourselves and the things we accomplish through sports. That's really nice. So go-to meals, go-to breakfast, lunch. I have go-to things that I try to put on, usually a lot of greens, and then add some protein and go easy on the carbohydrates at lunch. So it's also a lighter kind of lunch. And just by having thought about my food a lot, kind of understanding, eyeballing what's on the plate and what I'm eating and how much that actually is. Usually underestimate that though, so now that I've started tracking more actively again, it's a good recalibration of my knowledge, and that generally just happens over time. And go to dinners, there's like 5 dinners we cook every week. Usually fish is on the menu twice, chicken, and we're trying to introduce a vegan day again, because we used to have those, and we discovered a lot of fun recipes and learned a lot about vegetables and greens by doing that. So there's things that we try to introduce and play with foods. And the way I created those go-to meals was, I started with one. So it was one dinner, bought a good cookbook, found a couple of recipes online, learned them and understood how to get better at creating tasty, healthy dinners, which is another part of the skill of food, right? Cooking and preparing, and you can get really good at that. So this starts basically with the supermarket, the grocery list, right? What we decide to buy based on the go-to meals, based on our fuel requirements and our understanding of what energy balance is and how we want to balance our macronutrients and our carbs, fats, carbohydrates, carbs, fats, and proteins. So whether that's takeaways that you're trying to figure out, or home delivery of your groceries, or you're going to the supermarket, that's kind of where this all begins, having a plan for that rooted in your health and fitness outcome, whatever that's going to be. And probably the go-to meals and having that outcome is going to help you be more consistent. And when we're hitting that calorie goal, that energy balance at neutral, generally with good foods, with wholesome, healthy foods, generally we lose the cravings for other things, or it becomes easier to deal with the cravings also when we start to see results. It's 5:48. That's all I've got for you this morning. I'm sorry. It's been a bit. We've done mobility. We've talked about nutrition. I appreciate you dropping by, Benjamin. And thanks for sharing your story and your insight. I appreciate the conversation this morning. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, and I have some time to record a couple of other videos, which I don't generally have a lot of time for. So I'm going to maximize the morning and make the most of it. For those of you who are watching and who don't know, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours every night, minding what I eat, try to eat within my energy balance, try to eat a lot of greens and vegetables, and try to eat 120 and 150 grams of protein in a day. Strength training, conditioning training, and mobility training, as you saw this morning here, generally with kettlebells at home. I go out for runs. I run once a week, want to go for twice a week. So hopefully we'll get around to that at some point. Remember, And this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I want to feel fit, competent, and capable for life and whatever life throws at me. We're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to help us get there easier. There are enough people who want to put us down, so we lift ourselves up. All right, friends? And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. And if you like my channel, go ahead, check it out, like the video, leave a comment, and maybe subscribe. And I will see you in my next video.